Welcome to the Dream Nation Breakfast Club, where we gather together every single Tuesday at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Happy to be here with you all. I am your host, Josh Valentine. And for those of you who are new to the Breakfast Club, welcome. Not sure how you were invited, whether you were just kind of checking out social media and maybe someone tagged you, maybe you just randomly ran across this social media post, or maybe you just found out about my work through my podcast or television, things like that. But however you were introduced to the Breakfast Club, welcome. Happy to have you guys all here with us here today. And for those of you who are new also, the Breakfast Club is pretty much where we gather together every single week and we cover different topics around personal development, life coaching, things that could essentially make your life better. And we have a very value-packed session lined up for you guys as always. And welcome to the second half of 2025. Man, this year has been going super fast, and it's crazy to think how fast it has gone. We're already in the second half. I feel like we were just kicking off our New Year resolutions, and crazy to think that we're already in July. So welcome. And this Breakfast Club today is all going to be about resetting yourself for the year. And I think that the halfway point is always a great time to kind of hit the reset button and get yourself back in the game with whatever you put on the back burner throughout the year. So maybe your New Year resolution was to lose some weight. Maybe it was to save more money. Maybe it was to start that business, launch that podcast, write that book, whatever it is. This is the time to reset. And we're really excited because we're going to be launching our Life Mastery Halftime event. It's a virtual event. It's free for everyone. We'll be having some VIP tickets as well. The VIP tickets are actually going to come with a complimentary coaching session from me. So you'll be meeting with me one-on-one. The VIP tickets, if I'm not mistaken, are like right around $100. So you guys can send me a direct message. Hopefully you're tuning into this before Life Mastery, which is going to be on the 10th of this month. So on the 10th of this month, or actually the 11th, on the 11th of this month, we'll be kicking off our Life Mastery virtual event. It's going to be on the 11th in the evening time. So I believe we're starting right around 8 p.m. And I'll be sharing all the details with you guys in the Knowledge and Inspiration Facebook group and also through email. And then on Saturday, we'll be doing it from 12 to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we'll be covering a lot of different topics. We'll be having a bunch of different guests, as you guys know, who've been on Life Mastery in the past. And I'm excited for you guys because Life Mastery is always a great opportunity to just kind of get reset with all of your goals and everything that you're working on throughout the year. And we do 2 Life Mastery events a year. So one at the very beginning to kind of kick off the new year. And then the other one, which is the halfway point throughout the year, which Life Mastery Halftime has always been my favorite one. We bring on a lot of different guests who specialize in different things. And I know you guys are going to get a lot of value. We also have the 21 Days to Transformation Challenge that we're kicking off as a community. So the 21 Days to Transformation is essentially 21 to-dos. And I'll share really quick for you guys right here. There are 21 to-dos in 21 days. And this we're going to be kicking off as a community on the 10th of this month. So you guys should see some of the links shared in the comment threads. You guys can just pretty much click on that. If for whatever reason you need information or you need to be updated on certain things, or maybe you just have questions, you guys are more than welcome to send me a direct message on all of my social media platforms. You can just message me directly and I'll be more than happy to send you over the information. But for the 21 Days to Transformation, I'm excited because this year what we did that was different was we launched an updated, the new 2.0 21 Days to Transformation course. So we have an actual course around it, and you'll have 2 options. You could either just get the digital course and follow it, with yourself, or you can actually get the course with 1 month of coaching. So we're going to be kickstarting that on the 10th of this month. So you'll have the entire month of July to pretty much focus on your 21 to-dos. And as you guys can see, the 21 to-dos are very, very simple things. easy to do, but easier not to do. And it definitely helps to have some form of coaching to kind of best support this journey. But it's a really great way to reset yourself, reset your entire life. This is pretty much a holistic approach to taking your life to the next level. For those of you who are just kind of like sick and tired of being sick and tired and you're ready for a change, I can't think of a better change than to kind of improve or give your daily habits a update, a lifestyle enhancement. So I know the importance of just setting really good goals throughout the course of the day. Also, just focusing on winning the day. If you win the day, you're more likely, or if you even win the morning, you're more likely to win the day. You're more likely to win the month if you win the day, and more likely to win the year if you are winning your months. And this is always a great way to just kind of get reset, and a great time to reset, being that it is the halfway point. So you guys can see all kinds of links that will be shared in the comment threads. You guys are more than welcome to either get the information from the links or just send me a message directly. So welcome, welcome. Happy to be here with you all. We're about to get this show on the road. And let us know what city you are tuning in from. If you're watching the replay, drop an R in the comments if you're tuning into the replay. But lots of exciting things happening. And lastly, we also have our Creators Conference that is going to be happening in Tampa, Florida this fall. It is more than likely going to be the first weekend in October. So save the date, because this fall we're bringing the second annual Creators Conference, where we'll be bringing in different creators from all around the world. We'll be having a Creators Award ceremony that Friday of that weekend. And then Saturday is the actual conference. And we'll also be hanging out that Sunday. So if you have the ability to block out your calendar for the entire weekend, the first weekend of October, and dates are subject to change, of course, but we'll be keeping you guys updated on the official date, venues, all of that stuff. So stay tuned. Now, let's get this party started. Now, we have a few shares that we have, and to get us kickstarted, I have some life hacks and fun facts for you all. And many of you know I'm a personal development nerd, so most of the stuff that I share here is centered around personal development. And to get us kickstarted, we have the very first life hack is hack your morning energy. So drink a glass of water with a pinch of sea salt and lemon right after waking up. It rehydrates your body, jumpstarts your metabolism, and boosts brain function. So if you're looking for a natural way to pretty much, to increase your supplementation or whatever, you have the ability to do that in a very natural way with a pinch of sea salt and lemon right after waking up. So I know lemon apparently alkalizes your body. It's like a natural way to alkalize your body if you mix the lemon with your water. Really, really great way to go about that. And the very next life hack that we have, and you guys can see the links, by the way, coming in the comments. So you should be able to get the links to whatever it is that you need. And yeah, let's keep this show going. Number two, the number two life hack is the 20-20-20 rule for focus. And that is basically every 20 minutes, look at something 20 feet away for 20 seconds to reduce digital eye strain and refresh your mind. So I actually found out about this today. I thought it was a really great hack. And I mean, so many of us can definitely use this. I know my kids, my kids are typically on screens more than they should be, I gotta admit. And it definitely helps to reduce that eye strain from time to time, whether it's going outside, adjusting your eyes. So really great life hack. Next, we have use your phone's name for affirmations. So many of you probably have your phone set up for like Bluetooth or hotspot, things like that. And you can replace it with an affirmation like I am focused, or maybe it's your title. Maybe you're the CEO of your business or whatever, but you can actually change the name to whatever it is that you want as a friendly reminder, as an affirmation. So every time you see it pop up, you get that positive mental cue. So really great life hack. Next, we have sleep reset with cold showers. So if you're feeling anxious or you're having difficulty sleeping, you can actually take a 60-second cold shower, and it helps reset your nervous system and lowers your cortisol. For those of you who don't know, cortisol is the stress hormone in your body. And whenever you're feeling stressed, chances are cortisol is high. So cold showers help reduce that cortisol and helps improve your sleep. So give it a shot. Now we have a few fun facts. The very first fun fact is multitasking drops your IQ. So studies show that multitasking temporarily drops your IQ by up to 15 points, the same as staying up all night. So if you ever stay up all night and you can't seem to focus, that's because your fatigue is actually dropping your IQ, and you multitasking has that same effect. Next, the word gym stands for something. So gymnasium comes from the Greek word gymnos, which means naked. In ancient Greece, people used to work out nude. So really interesting fun fact. My first time hearing about this. Next, we have your brain has a delete button. When you sleep, your brain literally flushes out unnecessary information. It's called synaptic pruning. So don't skip that 7 to 8 hours. Okay, really, really great fun fact there. And last but not least, we have chewing gum boost memory. Chewing gum increase blood flow to the brain and can improve memory and focus, especially during learning or stressful situations. So I actually had a friend comment to me a couple of months ago that she didn't know of anyone who chewed more gum than me. And I never even was aware that I chew a lot of gum. And honestly, I chew gum because I speak to a lot of people throughout the day. And the last thing that I want is to be blowing someone away with my funky breath because I'm out there speaking all day. And for those of you who don't know, in the world of networking and public speaking, you have what you call speaker's breath. So when you are speaking nonstop, listen, that breath is not going to stay minty fresh all day long. So I had learned early on to pretty much chew on gum throughout the day to kind of help with that, because last thing you want is to be blowing anybody away when you're speaking to them. And by the way, I will share this. Josh Valentine is the brother that will hand you a gum. And if I hand you a gum randomly, take the gum because I will tell you your breath is kicking in a very subtle way. And my very subtle way is by offering you a stick of gum. Just take it. take my word for it. I always wanted to be that person for people because I always wanted to have someone that would let me know, that would have the courage, like, bruh, take the gum because it's piping right now. And there's nothing worse than having to sit in, listening to someone just rant about something for minutes on end. And it's interesting because I have a lot of people who I speak with, and there's nothing worse than having to sit there and listen to someone and they're blowing you away with their stink breath. So take the gum if you ever get offered it by me. All right, let's jump into the main topic. Well, I have a few more shares actually for you guys before we jump into today's topic. And the very first one is seek third alternatives. Seek third alternatives. And this is from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And basically, the first thing is to observe an upcoming meeting and identify if synergy is or isn't occurring. So synergy, working with people for a common goal, right? And think about a meeting that you have throughout the course of the day. I know some of you haven't started your 9 to 5 as yet, and you're getting your day kickstarted with us here on the Breakfast Club. But think of an upcoming meeting and identify whether or not synergy is or isn't occurring. Secondly, think of a problem that would benefit from synergy, using it to seek a third alternative. Now, what does this all mean? Ask yourself, when am I likely to settle for compromise? When do I experience synergy? What's the difference? So synergy depends on a willingness to seek a third alternative, more than just my way or your way. It's a higher, better way. It's something that neither of us would have come up with on our own. So this is a really, really great tool for those of you who work with teams. We oftentimes fall into the habit of just adopting our way of doing things, or perhaps we delegate the responsibility to someone else. But when you have more eyes on a problem, more brains on a problem, working simultaneously on a specific problem, you tend to come up with better ideas. So there are a lot of things that you can do to build more synergy. Really great share. Now, here's a great quote, and that is, what is synergy? Simply defined, it means that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Synergy means that 1 plus 1 may equal 10, or 100, or even 1,000. Stephen Covey. Really great share there. All right, let's keep this show on the road. Next up, we have, unless we take control of our evaluation procedures, they can lead us down a path that makes us question our abilities. Imagine playing tennis and hitting a serve. More often than not, people start generalizing in a disempowering way. What a terrible serve becomes, I couldn't play today to save my life. Don't get caught in this self-defeating cycle. Right now, identify at least one incident you may have exaggerated negatively. Have you done this with your relationships, your job performance, your physical abilities? Decide now to interrupt this pattern. Shout erase next time you begin it. Let go and focus on what you want to achieve. Notice the immediate change this produces. So it's interesting because this actually, what it reminds me of is sometimes my wife and I will get into these like heated discussions. And Kia tunes into the Breakfast Club from time to time whenever she's awake. But she'll we will get into like these heated discussions, and she definitely doesn't mind me sharing some things. I love sharing different aspects of what I go through, whether it's business, marriage, different relationships, things like that, because it definitely helps put things into its proper context. So one of the things that come to mind is when my wife and I would get into these heated discussions, and she'll kind of like generalize, like let's say I'm doing something one time, and it becomes like this generalization. And oftentimes I have to, whether it's her or even someone that I do life or business with, I oftentimes have to remind them that you can't really just focus on the one shortcoming or the one time that someone falls short. You have to look at the bigger picture. Okay, well, how many times has this person shown up? How many times has this person how have they been consistent over the years, right? Because it's so easy to look at like one negative situation and sort of make these generalizations, like this is the experience, almost as if like the entire, like if you're in a relationship and you've been having some issues, like you're in a very difficult season, or you're having a difficult week, right? Chances are the entire relationship hasn't been in turmoil. You may just have had a bad season or a bad week or a bad day. And it is important to not generalize the one bad moment and kind of make that the overall experience, because chances are if that were the overall experience, you probably wouldn't be in that relationship in the first place. So we tend to do this with our partners, with our relationships in general. It's like, you may have a friend, for example, that maybe they're nagging you, and they're constantly nagging you, or maybe you're in a relationship and the person is nagging the hell out of you, and now all of a sudden you're like, you're always nagging me. But when you really look at things, right, from a bird's eye view, chances are they weren't nagging you all the time, but you kind of perceive it like that because we tend to focus on the negative, and what you focus on expands. That's just human nature. So whenever you fall into the trap of kind of generalizing something, look at it from a bird's eye view. Ask yourself, is that really the case? Or am I just focusing on the negative? And because what I focus on expands, that's why I'm using these generalizations. But the reality is, it's actually not always the case. Okay, so super, super important to understand when it comes to navigating through your relationships. Next up, we have a common denominator among successful people is that they consistently make superior evaluations. Hockey great Wayne Gretzky is no exception. Is he the biggest, strongest, or fastest player in the league? By his own admission, the answer is no. When I asked him what makes him so effective, he said that while most players skate to where the puck is, he skates to where the puck is going. His ability to anticipate, to evaluate the velocity and direction of the puck, the strategies and momentum of the other players allows him to place himself in the best position for scoring. If you were to apply a little bit of foresight to a situation you are in right now, can you see how that might make a huge difference? So this is actually really, really cool. I remember back in high school, so I led, I played defense on the football team in high school. And my senior year, I led the state. I led New York State in defensive interceptions. I was top 5 in the entire country. A lot of people don't know that chapter of my life. And it's interesting because as I read this on Wayne Gretzky, how he had that foresight to anticipate where the puck was going, the direction the puck was going. It was kind of like what I did with defensive interceptions. So when a quarterback would throw the ball, and I kind of had an idea that the ball was going in a specific direction, and what I would do was I played free safety. So free safety is like the last guy in the back on a defense, right? And I would oftentimes just anticipate the direction the ball was going in. So what I noticed is if there were a group of guys jumping for a ball, I would step away from the group and position myself in the direction that the ball would go when it hits one of their hands. And because I had the foresight, I led the state in defensive interceptions because my whole strategy was always going in the direction the ball was going in, not exactly where it was going to initially land, right? Not amongst the group of players that were jumping for the ball at the same time, but more so the direction it would go in after it bounced off of one of their hands, right? And this always was super valuable. Or if a quarterback threw a ball to another player, I'm just going to run my best in that direction because I know the ball's going to land in the vicinity of wherever it's being thrown to. So now, how does this correlate to just life? Think about some of the things that you're working on. Think of the business trends of the world. Think about some of the things that are actually happening right now. Like, for example, I foresee a world where we're pretty much integrating AI into everything that we do. So as an entrepreneur, my mindset is let me learn as much as I could possibly learn about the world of AI because that's the direction that we're going in. I'm not waiting for an arrival point. I'm not waiting for it to actually get there. I can see, right, and have the foresight to know, okay, I need to be 10 steps ahead of everybody else in the marketplace. Because the one thing about sustainable entrepreneurship is if you want to be an entrepreneur long term, you have to be able to adapt. It's not survival of the strongest, it's not survival of the fastest. It is survival of the most adaptable to change. That's what entrepreneurship is about. And if you can't adapt with the times, you're going to be left behind. You're not going to make it long term as an entrepreneur. So this is something that I've always anticipated, right? And no matter what season I'm in. If I'm in the pandemic, for example, when the world was shut down and everybody was home, I doubled down on my coaching, right? I really put a strong emphasis on coaching specifically because it was like, I need to figure out a way to be able to make money wherever it is I am around the world. And a lot of people were home, and it was a great way to pivot. But there were a lot of people that didn't really know how to pivot during those times. And they essentially, if they started out as entrepreneurs, many had to go back to work, right? Because they could not adapt with the change. So how do you constantly stay ahead of the game, right? How do you foresee like what's happening? And right now, I mean, there's a lot of different things and trends happening in the world, and it is important to always be up to speed with what's happening in the marketplace. Don't be stagnant. Don't just kind of like rely on all of this outdated information that you have, right? Because the world is changing super super fast. Every single week, the world is moving. It's not waiting for anyone. So I had shared this a couple of weeks ago on the Breakfast Club. I recently had a mentee reach out to me on like a really good book to read on business. And I've never given this advice in the past, but I actually recommended that he didn't read any book when it came to like putting together a business plan. What I recommended to this gentleman was, rather than reading an outdated book on certain things that don't even apply to today's marketplace. Like, for example, I went to school for business. I would say the vast majority of what I learned around business no longer even applies in today's marketplace. They weren't teaching us social media in college. They weren't teaching us AI in college. They weren't teaching us all of these new technological platforms that we have access to today. It was a completely different world. So all of that information is pretty much it's outdated. So what I recommended to this brother was, rather than reading a book, hop on to some of the latest podcasts, see what's happening in the world of entrepreneurship today, not 10 years ago, but today, right? Listen to what's happening, the trends, and also go on ChatGPT. You can have AI draft up a business proposal for you. So utilizing AI, and also being at the cutting edge of what's happening, that's a much better approach than to just read some outdated book that no longer applies. Now, there are some fundamental things that will always be fundamental in business, right? Like, for example, if you're doing sales, there are certain things in sales that are always going to be timeless. Like things like networking, communication, leadership, those fundamentals pretty much will always remain. But in terms of the way you go about business, it's always going to be adapting and evolving over time. Okay, so that's why it is important to be at the forefront, especially in today's technologically driven world. Everything is happening super super fast. Okay, so now that we have the life hacks, fun facts, all that stuff out the way, and for those of you who are new to the Breakfast Club, typically within the first 20 to 30 minutes, we're kind of warming up the audience before we jump into the main topic for the day. And today we're covering everything mid-year reset, reigniting your resolutions that you set earlier in the year. And today is July 1st. Maybe you're tuning into this a few months later or a few years later, whatever it is. You can still get a lot of value from today's session, because a lot of these things are going to be fundamental principles. And a reset doesn't necessarily have to happen at the beginning of a quarter or the beginning of a halfway point or new year. You can reset at any point in time. So maybe you're resetting and you're a third away, a third into your year, or 70%, done with your year. Wherever you are in the year, I just want to encourage you to go for a reset. If you feel like you need a reset with everything that you're doing in your life, and maybe you put a lot of your goals, your dreams on the back burner, if you need a reset, go for a reset. There's no obligation to wait to a certain period. It's funny. A lot of people wait for New Year resolutions before they finally decide to reset. And I think that that's the wrong approach. Now, the good thing about New Year resolutions is kind of just the excitement around it. And then you could also get a lot of people to rally behind it, because people are accustomed to setting New Year resolutions. But I also like halfway through the year to just use it symbolically as a reset, because it's just the idea of being at the halfway point. When you think of most sports teams, or just sports in general, you typically have a halftime break, right? You'll have the first half done, and then you have a halftime break, and it's a great opportunity to get back to the drawing board, get back, reevaluate the playbook, reevaluate what's working, what's not working, what needs to be done, what course corrections have to be made. And that's why I love the halftime period. As an athlete, I've always loved, the halftime, because it's a time to get into the locker room and just kind of reassess what's happening in the game, right? And if you want to win, sometimes you have to make those course corrections along the way. So this is a great opportunity to do so. The reason, by the way, we're actually starting things like the 21 days to transformation, not today, but after 4th of July weekend, is because most people, 4th of July weekend, especially here in America, are living their best life with their family and friends. Like, they're not thinking about personal development. They're not thinking about being highly productive during 4th of July weekend. So it was important for me to launch it at a time that was attractive for the masses and also practical for the masses. So that's why we're kicking it off directly after 4th of July weekend that week. So again, save the date for this month. We're going to get things kickstarted. Really excited for that. Now, the overall objective today is to help you guys reevaluate, realign, and reignite your New Year goals with purpose, momentum, and a practical plan for the second half of this year, even if you've fallen way off track. Okay, so here we go. I want to ask you guys a question. And the question is, how are your New Year resolutions looking right now? Are you killing it? Are you on track? Did you forget them? Or did life just get in the way when it came to your New Year resolutions? Something to really reflect on. Okay. How are you going to go about your reset and finishing off the year strong? Now, I have some really great questions I came across on Pinterest, and I have 10 really, really great coaching questions to spark a breakthrough in this season. So these are really great questions to reflect on. And if you have the ability to take notes right now, take notes. I know some people tune into the Breakfast Club while they're cooking or while they're in the shower, whatever. But if you have the ability to take notes right now, this is a really great opportunity to take notes on certain questions that you can reflect on while you're going through your reset. Okay, so here we go. Here are the 10 questions for breakthrough. Number 1, what would be possible if you removed all limitations? So think about your limitations for the first half of this year, and what would be possible if you could remove all those limitations? Maybe you feel like your limitation has been distractions. Maybe you feel like your limitation has been lack of funds, or your limitation has been not having enough time. But what would be possible if you had no limitations? What would that look like for you? Okay, first question. Second is, what's the best possible outcome here? What's the best possible outcome? Think about where you want to be at the end of this year. And think about what would be the very best outcome going into the new year. Okay, there are a lot of things that you can think of, but you need that North Star. You need a target that you can shoot for. Number 3 is, if you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do? What would you do if failure was not an option? If you knew you could not fail? Oftentimes, we tend to have these limiting beliefs because these limiting beliefs are really clouded by all of these ideas of what if we fail, right? Or all the reasons you can't make it happen, all of the reasons why it won't work, as opposed to being solution oriented and focusing on what you can control. So super important to identify. Number 4 is, what haven't you tried yet? What haven't you tried yet? Maybe you feel like you've tried everything the first half of the year. I know for most people, they haven't tried everything. I know I haven't even tried everything. But what is something that you genuinely haven't tried yet? Maybe you've tried a lot of different approaches to accomplishing whatever it is that you want, but what haven't you genuinely tried yet? Number 5, if you can wave a magic wand, how would things be different? If you can wave a magic wand, how would things be different? A lot of these questions, if you notice, they're questions that open up your imagination. They're questions that help you look at things from a different perspective, and they're super, super helpful because chances are, if you're going to do great things, you're going to need to exercise your creative faculties, your imagination. They say imagination is the best nation on earth, right? It's what you come up with. It's how resourceful you can be. So these are definitely great questions for that. Number 6 is, what's the one thing you could do today that would make the biggest difference? What's one thing you can do that'll move the needle in your life? Okay, super, super important. Number 7, how would you approach this if you had unlimited resources? So oftentimes I'll ask people the question, well, if failure wasn't an option, what would they do? And the second question is usually, if money and time weren't an option, what would you do? So money and time are two of some of the most valuable resources that you'll ever have to do whatever it is that you want. Chances are that if you had unlimited money and unlimited time, you'd be able to accomplish 99% of what you pursue. Okay, so what or how would you approach this if you had unlimited resources? Number 8, what's the biggest challenge you faced before and how did you overcome it? How did you overcome it? What are some of the biggest challenges you've ever encountered? Sometimes you have to remind yourself of how great you really are, how resourceful you really are. And you have to reflect back on times that you've overcome very difficult circumstances in your life. Number 10 is, who do you want to be in this moment? Who do you want to be in this moment? So just to recap, the 10 questions to spark a breakthrough in this mid-year reset. Number 1 was, what would be possible if you removed all limitations? Number 2 is, what's the best possible outcome here? Number 3 is, if you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do? Number 4, what haven't you tried yet? Number 5, if you could wave a magic wand, how would things be different? Number 6, what's the one thing you could do today that would make the biggest difference? Number 7, how would you approach this if you had unlimited resources? Number 8, what's the biggest challenge you faced before and how did you overcome it? Number 9, if you could create the perfect environment to succeed, what would it look like? And number 10, who do you want to be in this moment? Really, really great questions. And I'm excited to jump into today's topic. And if you guys don't mind, drop a like, comment, share, tag the Breakfast Club. If you're watching live on dnbreakfastclub.com, by the way, if you want to engage with me live, I know some of the platforms have been a little bit tricky. Some I've been having to repost it, so I haven't been able to go live on platforms I usually do go live on, but you definitely can tune in live on YouTube and LinkedIn for sure, or you can just hop over to dnbreakfastclub.com and engage with me live every single week. Okay, so those are really great questions for a breakthrough. I'll definitely share it for you guys. And yes, if you don't mind, drop a like, comment, share, tag, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're not. Also, if you haven't left a review on the Journey podcast, wherever you watch it, definitely leave a review. I'm greatly appreciative for those of you who help out when it comes to that. So, okay, here we go. Next, we have the truth about New Year resolutions. So here's the truth. Over 80% of people give up on their resolutions by February. There's actually a National Quitters Day, for those of you who didn't know. A National Quitters Day, I think, is like right around 2 to 3 weeks after New Year's Day. And by the time February rolls around, over 80% of people would have given up on their New Year resolutions by February. So chances are the vast majority of people who are tuning in right now to the Breakfast Club have put a lot of those New Year resolutions on the back burner. And you could use a reset. So remember, resolutions don't fail because of a lack of desire. Chances are you desire everything that it is that you want. They fail because a lack of structure, lack of clarity, or lack of systems. So you haven't really gotten into a good flow, a good rhythm. You haven't designed your lifestyle so that it is one that is conducive for the results that you're looking for. So what do I mean by that? If you have a New Year resolution to lose weight, what's your system around losing weight? What's your strategy around losing weight? Do you have your day structured around that to best support that? So if you know that you need to be working out, if you know that you need to burn a certain amount of calories, what is your system throughout the week? Do you have a block on your calendar specifically for working out? Are you setting your intentions for the day? Are you planning out the day in advance? Chances are, if you're just going with emotions, if you're doing it when you feel like doing it, guess what? You're probably not going to do it because it's easy to do, but it's easier not to do. So for most people, even though they know that they should be, let's say, working out, they're going to do what they feel and not what they know. And the moment life starts lifing for them, they're not going to follow through. It's so much easier to say, you know what, I'll get around to it tomorrow. And they end up not following through. You need a sense of just urgency. You need to have some pep in your step when it comes to knocking out certain tasks that are super important. It has to become a must, because if it is just a should, a great mentor of mine would oftentimes say that if it's a must, it'll get done. But if it's a should, most people go about their lives where the things that are important are not a must, they are shoulds, and they end up living their life where they're shoulding on themselves. Don't be a person that's constantly shoulding on yourself. Oh, I should work out. I should go on the date night. I should build my business. I should reach out to the prospect. I should post on content creation. And then you just end up shoulding on yourself all week long. You have to make certain things that are priorities, certain things that you know are going to make the biggest difference in your life. They have to become a must. And the moment they become a must, you'll find yourself being a lot more productive and following through on things that you should be doing. So remember, the second half of the year is always going to be a powerful reset button, not a rerun, but a redirection. Seeing what's been working. And listen, the definition of insanity, a wise man once said, I believe it was Einstein, but they say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. You have to look at what have you been doing, and if you have not been getting the results that you want, chances are it's not working. Whatever you're doing is not working, and this is a great time to make those course corrections. Now, understand that reflection is the reset. So what in the world does a reset mean symbolically? A reset is a great time to just reflect. You're not necessarily taking action that moment that you decide to reset. It's like, okay, let me reset. Let me reflect on these last couple of months. Let me reflect on where I currently am. And also let me reflect on where I'm going. And where do I have to make these adjustments? And what plan can I put in place to ensure that the next several months do not look like the last several months if I'm not getting the results that I'm looking for? Okay, so here are some more questions for you to reflect on. What were your top 3 goals at the start of the year? If you guys don't mind, drop a comment. Drop a comment on what were the top 3 goals for you at the beginning of the year. I know for me, every single year, my top 3 goals are always to make more money. I love building wealth because the more wealth that I have, the more I can serve, the more that I can put into my personal brand or put back into my businesses, or just, help more people, right? I always know that I'm much better off when I have more money to work with. And I think every entrepreneur should always set the intention to make more money than the last. That should always be a goal, right? So for you, it may be, let's say, weight loss. It may be finding a significant other for the year. It may be, let's say, growing your social media, launching that podcast. But what are your top 3 goals? I know for me at this stage in my life, it's also enhancing what it is that I have going on, right? So you'll have your business goals or your career goals. You may have your personal goals for your personal life. Maybe you have spiritual goals, whatever it is. But what were the top 3 goals at the beginning of the year? Okay. Secondly, where are you now? Where are you now as it relates to those goals? What has worked and what didn't work? What worked and what didn't work. Okay, so reflecting on these things is it's absolutely vital to reflect on these questions for a proper reset, because you have to be real with yourself. You have to really identify, okay, what's working in my life and what's simply not working in my life, right? That's the idea more than anything. Okay, now next up we have what distracted or discouraged you. What distracted or discouraged you? I know for me, number one reason why I do not follow through on things that I know I should be doing, number one reason are distractions. Number two reason is not blocking out my calendar for it. Because, and they kind of go hand in hand, because if you don't block out your calendar, something will. Something will occupy that time and space. So you have to set your intention on what exactly are you going to be doing during that period of time. Okay, again, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Next, we have what's still important to you now. Maybe, just maybe, that New Year resolution was super important for you earlier on in the year, and maybe things have changed. Maybe you went through a breakup and you thought that the New Year resolution was going to be to repair that relationship. And maybe you find yourself in a space where you're not in a relationship anymore, and it's no longer important to you to focus on that. And you have to make some course corrections around that. Maybe you already hit your fitness milestones and it's not the same goal that you had earlier on in the year. Maybe you decided that that business was no longer for you. But what's still important to you now? Maybe you making more income for yourself or for your family is still important for you now. Okay, so it's important to identify that, because then you know exactly how to move for the rest of the year. Here's a really great quote. Reflection is the bridge between intention and action. Reflection is the bridge between intention and action. Next up, we have refocus. Choose one thing. Choose one thing. Sometimes we get inundated or overwhelmed with the 27 things that we have on our to-do list. And the best thing that you can do is just focus on the next thing. What's a priority? And remember, if everything is a priority, nothing is a priority. If everything is a priority, chances are you don't have any priorities. And this is important to understand, because too many times I see people fall into the trap of doing the most. They're stretching themselves very thin with all of these different things that are going on in their lives, and they find themselves being busy but not really being productive. Moving a lot but not being very productive, not moving the needle in their lives. And when I say the needle, I'm talking about that throttle, right? When you're full gas, you're flooring that gas pedal, and now you're getting yourself going. You're building that momentum. So choose one thing if you have to. Maybe that's the best approach, as opposed to just focusing on a million things at once. Choose one goal that still matters deeply, especially for those of you who haven't accomplished anything that you had initially set out earlier in the year. Maybe rather than focusing on all the things simultaneously, just focus on one. Focus on one. Focus on the one goal that you know that at the end of the year, if all you did for that year was accomplish that one goal, guess what? It was a good year for you. That should be the focus for you. Next, we have, why does this goal matter to you in this season of your life? Why does it matter to you in this season of your life? And I love these questions, honestly. Sometimes I read these questions, and I know that I'm providing you guys with the value, but honestly, this is also for me to kind of reset and reflect for my own self. And even with the work that I do in coaching, I always need to go back and give myself a good reset. Okay, so these are really great questions, guys. And I hope you guys are taking notes, because chances are, if you're not taking notes, over 90% of this information you are going to forget. That is not speaking from theory. This is an actual fact. Okay, so here's a great tip. write down your why again. Whatever your why was at the early part of this year. So you have to remember that you have to have an emotional reason behind your goal. You have to get emotionally involved. I remember a mentor would oftentimes say at these conferences that I would attend, he said, you have to get emotionally involved with your goal because emotion is the fuel. It's energy in motion. It is the fuel that will propel you forward. If you're just operating off of logic, remember, we are not creatures of logic. We are creatures of emotion, deep emotion. Logic is a part of it, but let's be honest. Most people are taking action out of inspiration or desperation. One of the two. And if you really need to take action and maybe the inspiration isn't cutting it, then sometimes you have to reflect on what hurts you. And that's why they say why is an acronym for what hurts you. What's going to get you to move and take action? What's a big pain point in your life? Maybe it's around money. Maybe it's the fact that you didn't get to go on the family vacation this summer, and that's a very strong pain point for you. Maybe it's the fact that you couldn't pay for your kids, private school or whatever it is. Maybe it's the fact that you didn't get to invest in that opportunity that you wanted to invest in. But what really is hurting you at this season of your life? Maybe it's just the fact that you don't like the way that you look, that you feel, right? You're sick and tired of being sick and tired. So write down your why again. Take some time for today to reflect on that. Go back to the basics. Go back to the why. If there's anything that's fundamental, it's always going to be having that strong why on what it is you're doing. Remember, if the why is strong enough, the how doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the how-tos. Maybe you have no idea how you're going to figure it out, but you know that why is strong enough. And if that why is strong enough, you will figure out the how. Next, we have reframe the plan. So remember, a goal without a plan is just a wish. A goal without a plan is just a wish. So break the second half of the year into 2 90-day sprints. So I went on a 90-day sprint in the last quarter of the year, and it was absolutely wild. It was one of the best decisions I had ever made from a business standpoint. And there's just something about these 90-day sprints. So the good thing about the second half of this year is you windows. You got the next 3 months, and then you have the following 3 months after that to close out the year strong. So my suggestion is start this first 90-day sprint now. Also, for those of you who could 4th of July weekend, start now. Don't wait till after 4th of July weekend to get started. Like, I'm starting on my goals now. A lot of these goals have already been in place, but I'm definitely hitting it heavy. I'm not waiting till later on in the year. I want to take advantage of every single day that I have for the rest of this year. And if you approach it with that mentality, again, you'll start to build momentum early on, because sometimes kind of like excited. If you find yourself right now being a little bit fueled, or maybe you feel excited or motivated or inspired by today's Breakfast Club session, then don't wait for the excitement to die out. Take action while you're in the moment. Okay. Now, you also want to create a minimum action plan. Now, what is a minimum action plan? That's basically identifying what minimum commitment you will follow through on weekly. What is the minimum commitment you'll follow through on weekly? So prime example, there are certain things that I, without a shadow of a doubt, no matter how difficult my life is in that season, I know that there are certain things that are 100% still going to happen for the week. So prime example, for me, I know I can't tell you the last time I've gone more than a week with no exercise. I can't recall a time in the last 10 years where I've gone more than a week with no exercise, even if it's a half-ass exercise where I'm just going into the gym for 20 minutes just to do a small light workout. The other day, I didn't have any motivation to go into the gym, and I got some some like 10-pound dumbbells that my wife had in the house, and pulled out her yoga mat, and I just got a light workout in. But I did something, right? Because being fit is such a big part of my identity that there's no way in hell that I'm going to go that long without exercising. Also, because I love walking, I know that at a minimum, I'm going to get some kind of cardio in just by walking several miles a day. Yesterday, I probably did it right around 3 miles. I about 3 miles a day just walking in general. So lifting weights, it's at least still getting some form of exercise, some form of movement. Now, so I know that that's going to happen. Secondly, I know that I'm not going to go over a week with zero. There's going to be some content. So I know that the Breakfast Club, there's a 10% chance that the Breakfast Club is going to be happening next week, and the following week, and the following week, and the week after that. And I would say the likelihood of me missing a Breakfast Club session is very slim for the rest of this year. So I know that 100%, like, that's a must, should. Just like exercise is a must. I also know that I'm not going to go without any form of prayer or meditation. I'm going to every single day. I know that because that's a must. So again, these are things that are a minimum, right? A minimum. So what has to become a minimum commitment that you'll follow through on your worst week. Maybe you don't necessarily have the greatest day, but you don't allow yourself to go more than a week without following through on certain things. Okay. I also know that for me, I'm going to take at least work and to just dedicate to my family. That's the family life, making sure that I don't lose myself and that I'm taking some time to dedicate just to. So I'm not going to go in a week without dedicating one day just to my family. So again, these are all, and you have minimums for yourself. Okay, so here's a really great quick framework. Also, remember, there's so many ways you can go about this. You can use habit stacking. Habit stacking could very well be, what comes to mind is I'll go for a walk, right? And because I go for a walk and it's not jogging, so I could actually walk and post up my social media, walk and tune into personal development. I can walk and take that business call. So this is a great way to habit stack. And oftentimes after my walk, I walk directly to my gym. I have a gym right in my community. So that's one of the ways that I go about habit stacking. There also accountability. Do you have any form? And for me, the Breakfast Club is a form of accountability. I have people who are holding me accountable, right? Also, time blocking. Make sure that you block out your time for the things that are a must. And here's a great quick framework. What's the goal, right? What's the goal? Second, now. Why now? Because, I mean, we're halfway through the year. What better time to go through a reset? I think that the half point time, if there's any time in the year that you should be doing, it's right now. Because think about it. You're not at the tail end of the year. You can do a lot in 6 months. You can accomplish a whole lot. So rather than waiting for the last quarter or the very last month, which I do as well, but the halfway point, you have a lot of time and a halfway through the year. So why now? Of course, because it's just the best time. Okay. Next is, what's the first step? After this Breakfast Club session, what is one step that you can take to get the ball rolling? Maybe your first step is prepping yourself for your 21 Days to Transformation Challenge. Maybe your first step is maybe your first step is blocking out your calendar and setting up your calendar. Maybe you buy a brand new journal so that you can journal about certain things. Okay, but what is the first step? Do you have someone that can actually hold you accountable? And that's why I love challenges specifically. the transformation challenge, the cool thing about it is you have the whole community rallying behind it. Okay, so we actually have a 21 Days to Transformation Facebook group. If you're not in it, just DM me. DM me the word coach, and I'll respond to your DM, and you can just let me know if you need to be on anything that we have going on. Okay, so who can help keep you accountable? Maybe you have a running buddy, maybe you have an accountability partner, maybe you community, whoever it is. Okay. Next, we have the mind reset. The mindset reset. So here are some things that you can do in terms of your mindset for this in this season. Remember, progress over perfection. Even if you start slow, just start. Even if you have to start off slow, just start. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. So progress over perfection. Don't get perfection. Perfection is the enemy to execution. When you get caught up in perfectionism, nothing worse than having paralysis of overanalysis. Because the issue with having paralysis of overanalysis is you're probably smart as hell. You're very intelligent, but you're is actually blocking your ability to execute. It's so sad when you see someone who's very, very sharp, and I learned early on that ignorance on fire is better than intellect on ice. You have to be ignorance on fire. Intellect is not going to be what gets you going. It's oftentimes emotion, getting yourself moving emotionally. Okay, so progress over perfection. Don't get caught up in being perfect, because chances are if you're caught up in that, you're not going to do to make that first step. Next, we have shame for falling off. So maybe you told everybody, you told your family, you told your friends you were going to launch that podcast, write that book, whatever it is. And you didn't, you told them you were going to crush it with your business and you didn't do it. And you have all this shame or guilt. Get over yourself. It's just your ego. Your pride is hurt a little bit, and that's okay. Because you tell your story at some point in time. Maybe down the road, you share that of how you had shame around it and how you overcame that. So allow your mess to become your message. Don't get so caught up in falling off, so caught up in falling short. Give yourself some grace. And that's the next thing. There is power in grace with grit. A power when you combine grace with the power of grit. So extending the grace for yourself, giving yourself grace, like, you know what? Listen, I dropped the ball. And it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to take a little bit longer than you wanted to take. It's okay to run your own race. And maybe you're not running as fast as the person next to you, but guess what? On the journey to success, it is not a sprint. It is more like an ultra marathon, not even a marathon, like an ultra, the extra hard one. And competition with the ultra marathon. You're running the ultra marathon for yourself. There's a pride, even in 13th place in an ultra marathon. Do you think ultra marathon runners are so consumed with being number one? No, they're running ultra marathon because it's their own personal race. It's beating their last best time. Okay, so give yourself some grace, but remember, there's a power in grit, in that scrappiness, that part of you that is willing to hustle, right? And I'm excited because courses that I'm launching community is the Hustle Harmony course. So I've been putting it together. It's pretty much finding your holistic edge with work-life integration. So it's the hustle. It's how do you massive action, but how do you keep the harmony in your life? And if you have any questions about the Hustle Harmony launching, send me a DM. Again, I'll be more than happy to send you information on that. But I'm actually putting it together for my corporate clients. I'm putting it together for a lot of high work with, and it's a really, really great framework for taking all out mass, being a hustler, but also keeping it all together simultaneously. It's been like my life's work. Many of you know I'm very big on the 5 F's, and the 5 F's are compartmentalize your life holistically. So that goes starting off with your faith, your fitness, your family, your fortune, and your fun in that exact order. And a lot of what I teach on the Breakfast Club is centered around holistic coaching. So it's all about align your North Star. How do you align yourself with your vision? And how do you take all out massive action? Also, how do you and not necessarily focusing on balance, but focusing on harmony? Because I don't believe in sustainable balance. I believe in sustainable harmony. There are going to be seasons of your life where you're all in on, let's say, launching your business. You're all in on building something, your life's work, and you're probably not going to be the best spouse. You're probably not going to be the best parent. You're probably not going to be the best whatever. But you don't have to completely neglect those areas of your life. You can keep the main thing or the main things the main thing. Now, recommit with a clean slate. This is another mindset reset that you can make. Like, you know what? You're a blank canvas and you're starting off with a clean slate. Think of July 1st as the beginning of this year. Like, let go of everything that you've done, everything that you set out to do for the first half, and just imagine 2025 with a blank canvas. And it's up to you on what you get to do with it. It's up to you on how you go about the rest of this year. Okay, here's a great quote. You are not starting over, you are starting from experience. You are not starting over, you are starting from experience. How valuable is that? So if you guys are getting value so far, drop a V in the comment threads. I want to make sure you guys are still with me. Drop a V for value if you are getting value from this. All right. Now, another thing that I want to cover, and I'll be covering this a lot more in depth on the Life Mastery virtual webinar that we'll be having, and that is the life scale. And the life scale is when you rate the top areas of your life on a 1 to 10 scale. 1 being the very worst, 10 being the very best. And this is a great opportunity to do some inventory on where you currently are on your journey halfway through the year. If you had to rate the top 10 areas of your life, and just to kind of give it to you in a nutshell, here are the top 10. Your spiritual life, your relationships, or your most intimate relationships. That could be your marriage, that can be your closest friends, but your most intimate relationships. Third is your family or your children, right? If you have children. Next is your business or career. After that are your finances. After that is your emotional life. How do you feel, the quality of your emotions, the way you feel about yourself every day? After emotional is personal development. Health. After health is fun or recreation. And after fun and recreation, you have contribution. Okay, so what does this look like? On a 1 to 10 scale, where are you currently right now? And I actually like to do the life scale every quarter just to see where I am. And what I've noticed over the years is people fluctuate with their life scale. That's why I refer to it as a scale, because you may be a 10 out of 10 with your personal development, but your relationship is in turmoil. You may have a thriving, parenting life. So you want to identify where you are. So spiritually, where are you on a 1 to 10 scale? And I always suggest identify what a perfect 10 would look like in each and every one of these areas. So maybe for you to feel like you're a 10 out of 10 spiritually, you may feel as if you have to do some form of prayer or meditation or mindfulness, going out in nature. It may be church or going out to a temple, whatever is your thing. But spiritually, what does that look like for you? A 10 out of 10. What's your North Star when it comes to that? When it comes to your relationships, your most intimate relationships, maybe for you, it's like going out on a date night once a week. Maybe for you, it's writing beautiful love notes or whatever. maybe that's what it looks like. Maybe if it's your friend, it's dedicating time to actually have conversations with your friend or spend quality time with your friend, going out for lunch, things like that. When it comes to your family or children, right? For your children, it may be just doing things with your children, spending quality time with them, having a conversation with them, breaking bread with them, and having meals with them. But what does it look like? Now, with your finances on a 1 to 10 scale, where are you? Be real with yourself. Are you drowning in debt right now? Are you behind on your taxes? Is your credit in shambles? Like wherever you are financially, be real with yourself. And remember, financial looks very different from business or career. That's why there are two different categories. Because you may be thriving with your business. Your business may be killing it right now, but you're terrible when it comes to managing your finances. So where are you with your business and career, but also where are you with your finances? And what does a 10 out of 10 look like? Emotional. What are the quality of your emotions? What's your emotional home? How would you describe the way you feel consistently throughout the week emotionally? Are you on an emotional roller coaster? Do you always feel a sense of anxiety or overwhelm? But where is your emotional home? Next is your personal development. How much have you been growing? Maybe a 10 out of 10 for personal development might be you consistently reading a good book or listening to audios or podcasts or jumping onto the Breakfast Club. But what does your personal development life look like? And you always have to dedicate time to feeding your mind. Okay. Next is your health. What's your North Star for your health? Maybe it's a specific body weight. Maybe it's, certain amount of inches around your waistline. Maybe it's the way that you feel. Maybe it's the way that you look. But what does the ideal health look like for you? And where are you right now? Now, fun and recreation. That's like your lifestyle. That's the quality of your life. Maybe fun and recreation for you is barbecuing on the weekends or maybe going on that vacation for the year. But what does that look like for you? What would a 10 out of 10 look like for you this year? By the end of the year, how can that look like your North Star or closer to a 10? And last but not least is contribution. How much of a contribution are you actually making? It doesn't have to be monetary all the time, but what's your contribution? Okay. Now, when it comes to all of these, one thing that I want you to reflect on is when it comes to all of the categories on your life scale, how can you get every single one of your numbers, wherever you are, how can you get it closer to a 10? So maybe with your finances, which is usually the lowest number for a lot of people, but maybe with your finances, you're at like a number 3. And you have to ask yourself, okay, maybe I'm not going to be at a number 10 at the end of the year, but I could probably at least get it to a 5. I could probably at least get it to a 7. What can you do to get yourself closer to a 10? Even if it's just one number up. And if you have to use 0.5s, that's cool too. Like I'll be like 8.5, 2.5, 6.5. That's cool. But how can you just get it a little bit closer? Maybe you're going from a 6.5 to a 7. And the way that you do that is by making a decision that, you know what, with my spiritual life, I'm going to connect with nature once a week. And that's how you improve it. But be very intentional about getting a little bit better. And here's the thing. If you just focus on being 1% better every single day, by the time the end of the year rolls around, you're going to be drastically better than you are right now. Just focus on being 1% better every single day. So I want to challenge you all. Choose one resolution today to recommit to. One resolution. Maybe it's not even a resolution that you set early in the year, but just one big goal. If you could just focus on one that you can commit yourself to over the next 6 months, what is that? Okay, drop a comment if you guys don't mind on what is going to be your goal that you decide to recommit to. I know for me, I need to get definitely on top of my social media again. I've kind of slowed down in terms of my consistency. So I know that's something that I actively have to get back into. There are a lot of things business-wise, right? And listen, the biggest thing is give yourself some grace. No matter where you are on the journey, do not beat up on yourself if you haven't had the very best first half, okay? It's not about how you start. It's more about how you finish. So here's a great quote to close out with. Don't let the year end with more regrets. The second half is still yours. Reset, refocus, and finish strong because your dreams didn't expire. They're just waiting for you to believe again. Ladies and gentlemen, breakfast is served. I hope that this was valuable for you. If it was, drop a comment. I read through all of the comments, even if it's just a V for value. Drop a comment below. Like, comment, share, tag someone who can get value from this. Make sure that you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Hop over to the Journey podcast. Tune into past Breakfast Club episodes and a lot of amazing interviews that I've had over the last few years. And again, save the date for the 9th, the 10th, the 11th of this month. We have Life Mastery Halftime. Get yourself ready for a 21 days to transformation. All month long, we'll be focusing on 21 to-dos in 21 days. So that's why we're starting right around the 10th, because we're going to finish off July very strong with these 21 to-dos. Even if you can't do all 21, it doesn't matter. It's just about making these subtle lifestyle enhancements that could help take your life to the next level. So breakfast is officially served, guys. Love you all. I'll be seeing you next week. Take care. God bless. And we'll be in touch.